think I'm going to call this video The Failure of Desire and the Apocalypse. This is a small channel. I doubt many people have noticed that I've not been here, but the reason I haven't posted anything for a while is what I'm calling a failure of desire. I don't know if you have ever been through a period in your life where you just can't want anything. Now, I'm not talking about the moment to moment impulse of, oh, I'm going to eat a piece of chocolate or I'm going to go for a walk. I'm talking about in a larger sense where you feel no desire for a relationship. The things that drove you forward, goals, exciting possibilities, just seem to no longer have any pull or magnetism to it. And so my first reaction was to go within and investigate. But then today it hit me. It's maybe a situation that belongs to something far greater than just my own little psychic circuit malfunctioning, but is perhaps a reaction to something much bigger and something that you might be going through as well. So, in this video, I'm going to talk about what I've been experiencing since 2020, what I think a lot of people have been experiencing at different levels of their conscious awareness, and what this could all mean. And while I'm doing this, I'm going to put some images of Scotland for you to look at. Things look the way that they always have, as beautiful, as remote. But I have the sense that even here, some kind of tentacular consciousness has reached its way in Queen's Park in Glasgow on a sunny day. And why wouldn't you be feeling the joy of the world and be able to look to the future and imagine possibilities? I stand and look at the Clyde, and last year I came and I was so filled with joy and a sense of connection. But this year, everything fell flat. Even when I left the city and I went out to try and experience the world outside of my routine life in France. And here I am in Saltcoats looking up at this grey sky. And I'm also thinking about why I can't connect. And as I said, I investigated all kinds of things within me from my childhood. And I think that it's about the apocalypse. I said that with a laugh in my voice, but I think that we are genuinely beginning to experience the crumbling and dissolution of the world that we created and the certainties that we thought were going to be with us until the ends of our lives, in the same way that they perhaps were for our parents. And I dreamt last night that I was looking at a city and all the buildings were just crumbling and falling down all around me. And I wasn't afraid. I wasn't really shocked. I was just looking at it. And I think this is a metaphor for what I'm experiencing. I'm witnessing a destruction, and I could feel it in the beginning of 2020. At the beginning of 2020, when we began the COVID crisis, I began to experience some extremely powerful, intuitive hits. So it was like having a car alarm that just wouldn't go off. I mean by that, there was a constant psychic screaming in my head that I just couldn't stop. I felt uneasy throughout my whole body, and it wasn't connected to what I was being told. I, it's, I've got to find the words to explain this. I was watching what was going on and I was feeling dread. That's the word. Not fear in that immediate sense of like, oh my God, I could catch this. And that's not what was happening. I wasn't afraid of COVID. Apart from maybe the first month, and then after that, I was like, no, no, it's this is far milder than we're making it. Or at least I don't think I have anything to fear. I got it, and then I was ill for a few days, and I was like, okay, that wasn't pleasant, but I've had as bad or worse in the past. So this is not the thing to fear, but I could feel something else, something big, something totalizing, actually, that I had never before felt. I've always felt before in life that things were perhaps happening elsewhere, and there are other places in the system where you could go where you would be safe. Here, I had this idea of what it might be like to be in a totalizing world event. And this caused me to suffer from insomnia. Now, again, I wasn't necessarily lying there worrying about something specific. It was perhaps what it might be for an elephant to feel that there was going to be an earthquake or a tsunami, and yet to know instinctively that there wasn't anywhere to run to know that there is no high ground, or and so to have this constant instinct to run with the absolute certainty that there was nowhere to run to. And I would say I went through the majority of the COVID period with that as a constant companion to everything that I was doing. As was promised, the new normal became the new normal, in that car alarm that was going off all the time, that sense of dread, that sense of, my hackles being up and something approaching, that kind of seeped down into a base state. And then when suddenly COVID was just dropped and it was like it had never happened and we could all just go about our lives exactly as before, I fell into that false reprieve sense. And I began to get excited about doing things again and making plans. But I understand now that it was just, in the way where you're being strangled and the person looses their grip to relax their fingers for a while, or perhaps to lure you into, my God, this is dark, but perhaps to lure you into the sense that, yes, it's over, you can relax now, so that you are better, you're more pliable when there's the next squeeze. I have the feeling that this feeling is coming back. It's I've tuned it out to a certain extent, but it's affecting me on a really fundamental level. And I think it's affecting pretty much everybody. Surely we can all feel that something is very wrong. And we might look at individual signs, this politician, that politician. But in the same way that we're constantly being told that the ills of our society are systemic, it's not individual acts of racism, it's systemic racism. It's not individual acts of sexism, it's systemic sexism, and so on. There is a systemic failure. And it's not, as I said, it's not one politician, it is the entire system. And the failure is feels like a controlled demolition, because there's an idea of what's going to come next. Almost like a kind of, Well, if death may come, let us plan it ourselves. And let us plant our seeds in the next life. But there's an incredible amount of deception going on. And not merely deception, but an undermining of the very concept of truth, where it seems like any word can be labeled to anything and it doesn't need to be coherent. It doesn't need to be coherent with an idea of what might be natural, of what might be instinctual, of what might just have been a sense of this is how things are. But it's a reordering, a massive reordering of reality, along whose principles I do not know, but not mine. And in this context, I don't know what to do. I don't know. I feel like I'm in a I'm in a boat. Sorry for these mixed metaphors. I'm in a boat and I'm trying to find a place to dock to strike land, but there is no land. Or the land keeps moving. I get close to it and there's nothing there when I get there. Because we're in a period of flux. And in this period of flux, we can't plan in the same way that we did. And the things that we desired are losing meaning, or they are for me. And so I'm having to rethink my whole existence, but without firm ground beneath my feet. And I know that the answer is the spirit. And it always was. And it was always ultimately going to be that. But I look at the places that I love and I can't connect with them anymore because they have ceased being what they used to be. It's hard for me to find language for this, and I feel frustrated with my own vagaries and the fact I need to resort to metaphors. We just, I haven't been equipped with a vocabulary that allows me to describe precisely what I'm feeling. And also, this feels novel. The world genuinely feels different to me than it used to. And if I didn't have many confirming signs that multiple millions of other people are feeling a deep sense of unease, as if their understanding of the world and their control, their autonomy is in some way being threatened. We have these old instincts. And my intuition has been firing off. And all I want now is to get out. But I miss the world. I miss the world that I knew. And I'm not talking about a nostalgia for the 1980s, which actually weren't that great for me. I'm talking about something quite recent, the world from 2019. But that's not there. And I'm looking now at what inside the system is going to be and what outside the system possibly could be. It's not 100% gone because I know the systems are still filled with people who mean well, who are trying to uphold systems, who are trying to deliver value or make people feel cared for and are doing their best. But they're being flushed out by multiple factors and replaced with a soullessness. But people of independent minds cannot thrive in these big systems. And at least not the way that they are today, where they they seem to be designed to strip us of all autonomy, and it's genuinely giving me a little sense of panic. And while this was going on, I had my own failure of desire. I didn't connect the two, and now I see, of course they're connected. Of course they're connected. And so I now have the challenge of renewing my desire within a world that I can't grasp. But it will be possible because everything is possible. I don't know how much sense this will make to people, but in my failure of desire, I guess I've also no longer able to make something that I think other people might like. I've just got to make something which is me expressing what it is that I have to say, and showing a little slice of my life, however insignificant that is. And if it connects with you in any way, I'd really like to hear that. If you've watched until now, I salute you. And yeah, probably see you again, further adventures. And hopefully the flame of desire will be alight.